Uh, Hello, everyone. I'm Sung Kim from South Korea. Right now, South Korea is it's like a 1:20 a.m. So I should be in bed actually, but yeah. Please understand if I fumble a little bit. Okay. All right. Let me briefly introduce myself. I'm a professor at Kookmin University in South Korea. And my expertise lies in user experience and service design. And I'm mostly interested in experience design for the public sector. I'm also running a lab called Design for Unity, which focuses on design's effort to bring peaceful reunification between South and North Korea. So back to my main topic for today. My talk is about a government project on policy design and what we have learned from it for 4 years. It's called Kookmin Designdan in Korean, but from now on I'll just refer it as KDD. So what is KDD? Like I said, it's a national initiative to develop policy through citizen participation based on service design. It started in 2014 by the Ministry of the Interior, and it has been running for 4 years. I am an advisory member of the project of the KDD. So this is how KDD is operated. At the beginning of every year, a new KDD plan is announced to all the central and local governments and ask them to apply for it. In this year, we had about 240 applications and 50 were finally selected. The selected projects are funded. However, many non-selected projects are executed as well, and we support them in various ways. Every KDD project has to form a team composed of 3 key actors: government officers, a service designer, and several citizens. This is a key requirement. Okay. Once the team is formed, a project is carried out. The team is required to follow a standard KDD design process, which is basically a service design. This is another key requirement of KDD. At the end of the year, we hold a contest for the teams to present their outcomes, and a small number of teams are awarded. The best team gets the President's Award, which is actually a big honor for the government officers. So these are some of the selected projects in this year. One project from Seoul is making a policy to balance the needs for pet owners and their no pet neighbors. Another project from Busan is about urban regeneration. They intend to make a valuable use of empty spaces in and around the cities. So how is KDD different from the conventional policy-making process? This diagram shows the conventional policy-making process in Korea. As you can see here, there's no laser point, okay. As you can see here, all the earlier key phases are done by solely the government officer, and designer is called in only for the implementation in the latter phase. The designer is mostly subcontracted for a short period of time, and they make items ordered by the government. Likewise, the citizens are brought in the last phase and that's when the government needs to evaluate its policy. Compared to that, in KDD, the designer and citizens take part in from the early phase of the process. The activities in the green oval are the core of the KDD design process, and you can see that's actually a service design actively applied with collaboration among the three key actors. So the comparison between two processes, again, you can easily see the huge differences. So why are we doing KDD? The reason is obvious. The conventional bureaucratic policy making process just doesn't do a good job in capturing the true needs of the people. And the KDD is supposed to be an innovative approach in policy making by involving citizens. So the big question is, how do we involve them? The interesting thing is that when I ask government officers to listen to people's voice, the usual answers are that they are doing it all the time, and they start to list up data collection methods such as committee, survey, public hearing, and so on. The concern is that, as everyone here knows, that these methods may seem to gather people's voice, but they often fail in capturing the true needs of the people. The needs that are not expressed verbally, the needs that cannot be identified through the statistical analysis, or the needs that require the holistic viewpoint to understand it. You can ask your colleagues and students to express themselves effectively. Maybe that's part of their required job skills. But the same demand to the general public, it doesn't work. So here you're dealing with like babies, little kids, foreigners, seniors, people with various levels of education, and even animals. So the real big question is not just involving them, but how you involve them in more effective way. And in that sense, I should confess that my question to government officers is wrong from the beginning. And the wrong question tends to lead wrong answers. The voice part was wrong, actually. The needs that are expressed verbally are just the tip of the iceberg, as everyone knows here. What really needs to be captured is the need from people's context. And the context can only be obtained through observations, co-creative workshops, and some other tools that we use in experience design. And obviously, the government officers, they are not well trained to capture people's context or extract insights from the captured context. And that's where the service designers walk in. So it's service designers' roles and responsibility to support the government officers on that part, and oftentimes do it themselves. And this is the reason why we have service designers in KDD. So I'm going to talk about some achievements. KDD has survived for 4 years. And looks like next year it's secured as well. In Korea, not so many annual government projects stay this long, especially if they are rather, experimental and provocative. And there has been an exponential increment in both numbers of participants as well as projects. So the quality growth is quite noteworthy. In IF Design Award 2016, KDD was awarded a golden winner for the public service discipline. So that was quite a big honor. I can observe that there's a gradual change on the mindset of the governments as they do the KDD. They gradually see the value of the service design. It's very slow, but it's happening. In fact, in this year, the Ministry of Interior has announced its revised enforcement ordinance, and it strongly recommends that all the government agencies should consider using public service design in their policy making. I think even using the term public service design in their official document and legislation, that's a big step forward. So lastly, lessons learned, some issues and problems, and future homeworks. Okay, I have to tell you that still a great number of government officers don't know what they are doing actually. So they don't understand the true meaning of the public service design for the policy, and they don't get the philosophy. So they are just mimicking the design activities and what the KDD guideline says. So many government officers end up holding the old usual meetings, and they just ask the designers and the citizens to just be there. And there's no co-creative workshop. There's no freestyle brainstorming in that meeting. So it's not done correctly. We may have progressed greatly in quantity-wise, but in terms of quality, there are still we have still much to do. And my concern as an advisory member is that this exponential growth in quantity tends to hinder the need to discuss for the quality improvement. Besides, I'm already seeing some stagnation in quantity growth as well. Okay, the unbalance of the service design resource among provinces are gradually becoming an issue now. Because KDD is a national initiative, there are many projects going on in remote rural regions as well. And in those regions, they have difficulty finding professional service designers. And they often end up recruiting people who have little knowledge in service design. That may lead to give a wrong idea on the service design practice for their local governments. Okay, this is another issue that has been constantly pointed out, that the designer is not invited from the very first phase. So many times the designer walks into her first KDD project meeting only to find out that the agenda is already fixed. So it's a sort of feeling that in Double Diamond, the design phase is already completed without going through the discover phase. This is caused by a more fundamental government system issue, which is beyond KDD, and right now we can't do much about it. So it's a big problem. Okay, finally meet my nightmare. This is also the biggest criticism I get from my own service design community as an advisory member for KDD. So like I said before, each project is funded, but the budget is way too low. It can barely cover a compensation for a single service designer. The problem is that can give a wrong idea to the participating government officers that the service design is a cheap work. So many service designers in KDD comfort themselves by thinking that they are acting as an evangelist to promote public service design in the public sector. But such a good act is often treated as a free of charge, like a talent gift work. So many designers get disappointed about it and just leave KDD forever. So this is very, very wrong and a big problem right now. So indeed, there are so much homework to be solved, but I believe the biggest homework is to ensure that KDD keeps running for a long time. It is still an innovative and sensational alternative to the conventional policymaking process. And it is also the best test bed we have in Korea to experiment policy design in real world with government's official support. Many people in Korea are surprised to find out that KDD has been in operation for 4 years. Well, for me, it's only 4 years. And the longer it runs, all the accumulated data and the learnings from the trial and errors will become valuable knowledge for us to build better policy design model in Korea. Thank you, that's all.